Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Francie Jain. She is a founder of Terawatt, a B2B marketplace focused on helping employers reduce employee turnover and drive long term organizational success. Welcome to the show, Francie.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You
Thank you
are
for having me.
welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And though there is a India connection, obviously we talked about but this is the online way you are very much here. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about expert-led coaching that saves companies millions. Will talk about all employee development and everything else. But before that, Francie, let's learn a bit more about you, your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. I am someone who has switched careers several times, and I realized that my willingness to switch careers or excitement by the challenge is rare. And I was trying to find a way to help people in the manufacturing sector who have lost jobs, just due to changes in the economy. And I thought, wow, what these people really need is a coach. But the problem is, if you are out of a job, or you're looking to switch careers, you don't have a lot of money. And so I realized that really the way to do it is to offer group coaching and have the individuals split the coach's rate. And I got that idea from business school, because once we were all in business school and there were 500 people or whatever, everyone started saying, oh, listen, we could buy this leather jacket. We get it for the wholesale price if 25 of us go in together. And so that was constant emails about, oh, if we all go in together, we can save. And so it's always in the back of my mind is the idea of splitting it with a big group. And, as I've been doing this, and I realized that if it's a marketplace, then we can represent three groups and make them happy. One is coaches, one is employers, and one is employees. And it's just a really elegant way to solve a problem. And then what's happened so I started initially just with the idea of saving money for individuals. And then I realized that there's a ton of research about the impact on human capital, on the business revenue, business profitability. And then even more, there's a relationship between turnover and professional development. And so as employers develop their employees, meaning that they support and pay for professional development for their employees, the retention of employees goes up. And that is extremely valuable. And depending on how many people you have in an organization, that could be the difference of millions of dollars a year. So we had this one case study where a healthcare organization had 24% voluntary turnover. And through group coaching, they were able to reduce turnover by 1% and 2% each year. And so after 9 years, they're at 4% turnover. And from peak to trough, that saved them $33 million a year. And it's counterintuitive, but it's so cool, because it's kind of like what you know in your heart is the right thing to do. And it wasn't until you have all this research, it's not clear that there's actually a numerical relationship.
Absolutely, Francie. But one thing I want to understand is that companies do go for coaching for their, or training for their employees, one way or the other. What is this coaching all about? Is it different than that?
Yeah. So good question. So that we're not doing well. It might be a little bit of training, but it's what we're offering is not like a black and white solution. It's not like it's not. I haven't written a book, right? There's no way to do it. There's no follow these 4 steps. It's that we want to work with organizations that are clear about a problem they have, and then we connect them to our almost 100 people right now in our network who have solutions. And then the buyer, the employer, can then pick from all these different people who've come up with solutions for them and given them a price. So one is like a choice. That's a big difference because there's no like one way, right? We're just really trying to solve problems. We're not trying to sell a process. We're just trying to connect expert coaches and trainers and thinkers to employers. And to me, that's really exciting. So we have no one way that we're trying to push on anyone. We just believe in opt-in. We believe in choice. And I think that's like a really big difference from us. The other big difference is that we're a marketplace. So like one way to think about us is like Airbnb for coaches. You know, at different times of the year, at different times of the day, whatever the thing is, there might be a different rate. And so coaches can come up with whatever their rate is based on the needs of the organization. And that's really different. Most coaching organizations, well, most of them are focused on one-on-one. So we're doing groups. So we're doing like 5-to-1, 10-to-1, 20-to-1. And so you get more expertise on the coaching side. And we don't, so most of the coaching companies offer a very low hourly rate, right? So let's say they offer, $30 an hour, then they charge the buyer $100 an hour, and they make the spread. And so that's like just a classic services business. Where we're a marketplace, we just we add 15% to what the coach is proposing as their rate and show that to the buyer. And so we are aligned with everyone in that we're not making money in a secret way on coaches.
Of course, of course. So what is this expert-led coaching? Means if there is a problem with a team in a company, any issue, and they need some guidance, then a better understanding of that, they go to the marketplace, Terawatt, and then they get the right person. That person comes in, and because it is group coaching, it is very cost effective.
Right. It's very cost effective, but then there's also more, which is also you learn from your peers. And so you might realize that a problem you're having, actually, we're all having. And it changes the dynamic and it changes the way you think about it in your mind. The other thing is that we only work with coaches who are truly trying to help people grow. There's no thing that you have to be on our platform, except that you have to be talented and care about helping people. So we have people who haven't graduated from college. We have people who aren't certified. We have people who are PhDs in psychology. We have people who are certified. We have people who are professors at universities you've heard of. It's really the whole gamut. And I think that I believe there are a lot of undiscovered gems out there who aren't great at marketing themselves, but they have incredible content and incredible wisdom. And the other thing is they're working for themselves right now. They already have a business. They don't accept $30 an hour coaching gigs, through the big apps. And so these are people that otherwise are pretty much coaching CEOs or something along those lines. Like, they're expensive. And so one of the things that I like to say is, like, we believe that everyone should have an opportunity to have access to a great coach. But in the same breath, I'm a capitalist. And I don't feel like I should tell someone what their rate should be. They tell me, and that is a really big difference. And it means that you can know that you're getting a real expert, and you can really evaluate all the experts against each other and see who's right for you.
Of course. So in terms of organizations, how would you want them to understand the benefit of this? Because it's extra cost for them. Yeah. And organizations, not everyone will be ready to spend money. And they would like to go for the much more cheaper option if at all required. This is a problem with several organizations. They do not spend that much of money on employee development, as well as, in training and so many other things, whereas employees want that. So how do you like to tell them where it works? Either ways, employees are, organizations are saying, we need to lay off people. So either ways, this is another way, we can get much more cheaper employees who come in next year. And these are on, lower rung employees, which we don't know, and our experts are all experts. We already have them within the organization. They train others. They don't need any training. I want to understand, how do
Yeah.
these organizations understand these things? Do they really understand, especially in this backdrop of the great resignation, the quiet quitting?
Yeah. Well, one of the questions is the organization actually quantifying the cost from voluntary turnover? So that's like the number one question, because if they're not quantifying it and they have turnover over 5%, they can save money. And the question is, how much money are you willing to spend to invest to save money then on voluntary turnover costs? And so then the question is, which group of employees leaving is the toughest for your business? So one of the groups that we like to work with we call like the middle, like the sophisticated middle. These are people who it never makes sense to hire one-on-one coaching for. It's just they don't make that much money, but you're already sending them to conferences or to do other professional training, so it can be a substitute. Depending on the price of the coach you choose, we can often get the rate below $1,000 a person. And again, like, it really depends on what you choose. Like, you could hire one coach for 60 people, and that would be a lot more cost effective on a per person basis. The coach's rate will be similar to what they would charge for one-on-one coaching for a CEO. And you get that level of coach, but you spread it across the organization. So I think there are a bunch of different questions, then the other thing to remember is the younger people, like the Gen Z, they expect employers to offer professional development as part of their employment. So what happens is, in the old days, and maybe this is also happening in India as well, but in the old days in America, professional development was expected to be paid for by the employees on their personal time, not during work. And the theory was, listen, as an owner, why would I pay for this person to learn something that will make them more valuable? They'll just leave. That was like the thought process. And it turns out it's 180 degrees different. The more that you support people and grow them and teach them and make them valuable, the less likely they are to leave. And so what people need to understand is that it's actually not linear, and it can be counterintuitive, but basically the supporting of people increases loyalty. And then it also increases institutional memory, right? And so you have people who've been there longer, and you can get more creative, the innovation goes up. All these things go up with professional development. And so I think if you're looking at always spending the least amount per person, you're definitely missing out on what it is costing you for replacement, because there's always a cost, even if,
Right. And how is the adoption rate among companies for this sort of thing, that it because it's your service, your marketplace? Are companies very willingly adopting this sort of a model?
No, we're new. We're a startup. We're doing a lot of education. This is not a common thing for people to think about. They definitely are not searching on Google for group coaching. So what we're really trying to do is let people know and understand the benefit for them, and especially using numbers and return on investment, and really using accounting terminology and thinking to really make our point. And so what we've been doing is speaking at a lot of conferences, and so we're often submitting proposals. And so our proposals will be titled something like reducing burnout or reducing voluntary turnover and with professional development. But I think that like the best companies will have the most impact are those that don't currently offer management training. So like the biggest organizations, like like Kellogg's or like P&G and all, those guys are always offering management training to their employees. Like what we're talking about is probably will make less of a dent than someone like in healthcare, where they're experts in science, they are experts in whatever their thing is, but they just have never learned about how to speak with humans except for bedside manner type stuff. They haven't been taught like collaboration techniques and ways to like work out problems with their colleagues. And like, so that's an area we think is we can help a lot, but it's new for them. So the adoption is low, but hopefully we'll get there.
Right. This is just the beginning, and I'm sure these sort of things, will have, because needs are also growing. People want to know about things, and experts are always required. So this sort of coaching is best what, online, offline. What is the model that you are, mostly selling more as, in that sense, that okay, this is, do people have to be in that same location, or is it also available online?
Okay, so that's a great question. So initially, my idea was to have it only be virtual because that would save everyone a lot of money. You didn't have to leave the house, you didn't have to get childcare, the coach didn't have to travel anywhere. That was like initially my idea. It turns out like everyone has different views on how this should be done. We've had coaching where it's all online. We've had coaching where it's all in person, over a 5-hour session one time. And coaches flew in for that. But the buyer really wanted to be in person because they wanted everyone focused and with their phones away. But then there's a cost for that, right? Because then these coaches have to travel to the location. So it kind of comes down to like how you view it. I will say that the more, obviously, the like long term of it, right? If you're doing, let's say, over 6 weeks or 3 months, and you're speaking to a group weekly, that makes a lot more sense to do it virtually. And then it would make, but vice versa, or whatever the word is, it would make sense if you're doing a long session to do it in person, because you just can't expect people to sit at their computer for 5 hours without losing like their mind. And so it can really, and again, that's part of the choice, right? So we're not saying it has to be this way or that way. We're letting the employer negotiate that with the coach, because here, thinking about this, like some coach might fly, coach class, which, not very expensive. They might not care about a hotel. There might be another coach who only will fly first class, who only will stay in a Four Seasons, who knows? And so that will add cost to it. And that's also kind of where we come in, as we help the organization negotiate with the coach to find a way that works for everyone. And so in that way, we can be a little bit like an agent or a manager, where we're trying to get everyone's needs met.
Right. So in terms of Terawatt, what is your vision for Terawatt?
Yeah. So, I think it can be like Airbnb, right? Everyone is employed, by somebody. And I think that the relationship to the employer and the development of the employees always is like an evergreen concept, I think, for humans. And there's always something we can all get better in. So I just don't see who shouldn't want to use this. So in that way, I think it could be like Airbnb. It could easily be global. I think there's also a really cool opportunity where, let's say you have an expert in America who's just too expensive for somebody, let's say in Africa, to afford. But what if you did it, virtually, and you had 60 people in Africa and one expert in America, and you really are able to like transfer knowledge from true experts, but in an affordable way that doesn't isn't too expensive for the organization. So I think that there's like a lot of really cool international information sharing. And then I also talk about it a little bit like arbitrage, right? Like it's like time zone arbitrage, right? Because really the only thing standing in our way to like do this is just time. But then there are plenty of places where it's just 8-hour difference or a 6-hour difference. And it's super weird, not weird, it's hard to get to these places, right? Or vice versa. It would be impossible, like three trains and 2 planes and a car. But you could do it over Wi-Fi. That works because almost the whole world has high enough Wi-Fi for Zoom. And so that's where my vision is. Like right now we have 100 coaches. And like I said, I just am trying to get like thoughtful people who help others who've developed their own content. And I know those people are across the world. So there's no reason we can't be global.
Absolutely. And this is what looks like the future of employee development. See, nowadays, everyone looks for a video, everybody looks for a course to learn. The same way, this will be another way where they can know, okay, this is what we need, and this is where the coach we can get, best coach, or expert-led coaching that they can get, and this is the way they can learn. The world is changing, and I'm sure a lot will change in terms of employee development. There's much to learn from you about all these things, Francie, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about Terawatt. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and then also Terawatt's on LinkedIn, and then our website is terawatt.co. Those are probably the best ways. That's where we're most active. And I respond to everything, so don't feel like it's gonna, any emails or whatever are gonna go in the void. I will definitely be there responding. But yeah, and I also love to talk to people, even if they have questions or concerns or whatever, because I think I love the feedback, and I love hearing like how we can make it better for both sides. Both for the employer side and the coaching side. I'm not a coach by training. I worked in finance for a long time. And so what I always say to people, especially the coaches, is please let me know how we can make it better, because I try to adopt your perspective, but I don't live it. And so it's the same with the employer as well. So we're always trying to just make it stronger product.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.